I'm Rick Smith. I'm the senior media writer at NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. I've been a Whovian since 1981, and my very long lapse was fixed by my son, who's back there someplace, who got me back into the show in about 2009. And since then, we own everything on Big Finish and every DVD, so we're kind of addicts.
All right, so let's begin at the beginning, as it were, and I guess since Jason, since you're here, we'll come to you.
Okay.
How did Big Finish get around to getting Paul to begin with? Because you started with Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy, and it's about a year into the main range when Paul comes in. How did that come about?
Well, the reason why we started with Peter, Colin, and Sylvester was that we knew them, to be honest with you, because we'd all been involved with Doctor Who conventions along the way, and it was very easy. We didn't know Paul, so we had to go by his agent. Now his agent at one point was Janet Fielding, but wasn't at this point, because Janet was actually quite negative about Doctor Who at the time, and then subsequently she got much happier about Doctor Who, and then said she'd come back and do one story with us. And she did one story, and then we went, "Are you coming back again?" "No." And then about 5 years later, she actually said, "Oh, all right then, I'll come back," because we said we were going to get Mark Strickson was coming back from New Zealand to come and do some work with us. And we said, "Look, Mark's coming back, Sarah does them already, do you want to do it? Do you want to be back in the old team again?" And she said yes. So since then, she can't keep her away now. But there we go. But back at the time. So we contacted Paul's agent, discussed it with them, and yeah, they just wanted to do it. Paul has a great love for audio acting. There's a big history of radio, obviously, in the UK, and he immediately said yes. And he'd just been doing a version of Frankenstein, actually, just prior to that. So he'd been doing quite a lot of audio for the BBC. And his only thing he actually said was, he said, "I do a lot of series." At the time he was filming,
It
was Hornblower with Ewan Griffiths. And he was just filming Hornblower, and because of that, he was spending an awful lot of time abroad when his kids were growing up, so he wasn't seeing his kids, and every job he did took him to London. So he said, "I'd love to do these, I will do these, but can you come to me in Bristol?" Now the BBC have a fantastic studio in Bristol, so we went, "Yep, fine, we'll rent the BBC studios in Bristol and do them there." So it's the only occasion when effectively we took a cast of character actors to do multiple roles. We all went down, we did effectively location filming, because we all stayed in the hotel together, we all went in every day to the studio, we worked in the studio really hard until 6 o'clock, and then we all went out for dinner together. So it was a very different atmosphere at the beginning of the Megans. We did do the second series where we did we did 8 episodes, we did those over 2 weeks, and that, unfortunately, we had flu, went through the whole of the cast, apart from Paul McGann, who, for some reason, seems to be the most inhuman man I've ever met in my life. He comes off a plane, I'm feeling a bit at the moment, because I came off a plane yesterday and I thought, oh, what was on that plane? He never gets anything wrong. I mean, probably he claims it's a vegetarian diet, but I came down very seriously. I ended up with actually fluid on my lungs, and he was hospitalised. That's how bad it got. Because it was that thing that we were working hard, couldn't stop working. We all had flu, but we couldn't stop working. So, because we had this one period of time with Paul, and literally on the way back, I was driving back from the studio, and I had to pull the car over and call my parents to come and pick me up. They took me to hospital with me, which is really embarrassing. I get sidetracked a lot. So what was the original question?
Well, we were asking how you got Paul.
Oh, Paul!
You answered that question and then went on. Okay. We are glad that you recovered, though, and are here controlling this. Well, for my money, those first 2 seasons you guys did with Paul, it's the first 10
yeah.
that you did, is amongst some of Paul's best work for Big Finish, and some of Big Finish's best output, the early days of Lane Range.
Yeah.
storyboarding is just a wonderful reintroduction for Paul. Sword of Orion, this wonderfully creepy traditional Doctor Who story with the Cybermen. Invaders from Mars, a wonderful 30s pastiche with Orson Welles. Mark Gatiss wrote that one. He was also in the first 4 in various different parts, if memory serves.
Yes.
And of course Neverland, which is just a stunningly good season finale.
Well, Neverland is one of those stories which I always refer to as our epic. I put it on, it's our version of Lord of the Rings, or Hobbit. It's that search through the barren wastelands to find something. And it really, I was listening to it, funny enough, quite recently, because it's brilliant for long journeys. It's all one story, it can take 4 hours. It is one of those stories which nearly didn't make it onto the CD. It is actually edited, because the original running time was too long. And there is actually, there are scenes missing, in fact, from that story, because we cut it to tighten it up a bit. And it's actually, when Nick Briggs came in as co-executive producer with myself, Nick said, we're going to make a rule that we don't go over 25 minutes in an episode. And he stuck to that rule for the first year until Son of the Dragon. I'll tell you why in a moment. But, and the reason he did that was there was so many plays which he edited, and other people edited, where they get there and go, and they phone up and go, yeah, this 2-hour play, yeah. What about it? Yeah, it's 150 minutes long. And they get paid the same. So he always thought it was very unfair on the editors. So, which it was. So we, that was introduced, and then Son of the Dragon, he kept it to 25 minutes, and he cut 2 very pivotal scenes, which he, funny enough, put into the extras. And I said to Nick, this is just ridiculous. We're not being broadcast on radio in these ones. We don't need to keep 25 minutes. If it goes over and it's 27 minutes, but you actually get a scene in there which explains the whole thing, what is the point of cutting it? You're absolutely right, you won't do it again. And that's why we changed it.
I am going to say that I do have one caveat for what I just said about them being some of the Big Fish's best work. There is one caveat in there, and that's why I put the disclaimer at the beginning of this. And I say this as a... No. Minuet in Hell.
Oh! Right.
I have to say this because you are in a room full of people who are born and raised in the South.
That's true.
And Minuet in Hell has the worst Southern accents ever.
Okay. Hands up who's heard Minuet in Hell. Okay.
Is the person the gunfighters? It's not person the gunfighters. I mean, actually, to be fair to us, everybody who was cast as an American was an American, apart from one actor, who was the girl who was playing the Buffy-esque actress, who actually was the one who got the least comments about bad accents. The problem is, you cast all these Americans who've been living in Britain for 25 years, and funny enough, their voices have changed. So funny enough, to an American ear, to an English ear, you're like, oh, it's American. To you guys, you're like, what are they doing? Because if you go and live in the UK for 25 years, your voice will change. It's as simple as that. Funny enough, I met someone today who was born in Buckinghamshire, and he's been living over here for 25 years, and he has this very unnatural mixture between the South and a British accent. And I found it very curious, because I can hear it as a British accent, but it's not. And you guys must have felt the same, so apologies. We have come some Americans since, and we've been a bit more careful in making sure that... How long have you been on the boat? 5 years. Okay. But it is a difficult one. I mean, I must admit, that is the other prime example of something that got out of control, because I don't know if you've read the inside story, the Big Finish book.
It's out of print now, but if you can get a hold of it, it is a very good guide and behind-the-scenes history to what I think is the first 50 main range releases.
It is. It's the first 50, and a lot of other things as well. And the thing is, we were very, very truthful in there. There's a lot of stuff in there that probably we shouldn't have said.
I think Paul Cornell referred to it as the blood on the carpet book.
Yes. Yes, there was a few incidents. Yes, I know exactly the incident thing. Yeah. You know, that came about because when we said that. No, I won't even repeat the story. But it's But there's a lot in that book which is very interesting. But one of the things that it does come across was Mini Race in Hell was probably, bearing in mind we've actually produced about 1,200 releases now, that was probably one of the, probably if not the, most difficult production we ever did, in one way or another. The primary problem was that Alan W. Lear was very ill at the time and wouldn't take notes from Gary at all. So Gary had to rewrite the whole thing. The script that was delivered in a very, very strange format and very, very difficult to understand in some respects. And Gary misunderstood how long it was in real terms. The actual script, as it turned out, we actually recorded it on 2 days in Bristol, and we were going to lose McGann, and we this isn't finishing. We're not going to finish this. And we realised that we weren't going to finish it, so we basically rushed through all of Paul's scenes and said we'll have to do a pickup day. And we were having big discussions. What's gone wrong? You know, what is this? Have we been over-rehearsing? What's the problem? He was like, no, it's just so much script. And it turned out the script was actually nearly 3 hours long for a 2-hour production. So that's why we had a problem. So we did a third day, and then what we decided to do was cut it back down to a 2-hour production from a 3-hour production. So literally 1/3 of that production is missing.
Special editions?
Well, we did talk about that, but there's a very good reason why 1/3 of that production is missing, because there is a lot of it not very good. And it is probably one of those shows where people have asked us about special edition for it, but we've always said we won't do it because I think the show stands alone as it is. But if we put back in all that stuff, I don't think you'd gain much, to be honest. The only thing you would gain, to be honest with you, is actually a little bit more of Nicholas Courtney, which is not a bad thing. No. But he was very sadly missed, obviously, by Big Finish, because a lot of work with me. And it is one of those things that, you know, it's probably best left in the past. But it was difficult. It was very difficult.
I had to ask.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, it has not a great reputation for various reasons. It's one of those things that you never set out to make a bad production, obviously. That would be ridiculous if you ever did. But the reality is you do end up with bad productions because things sometimes happen. And, you know, I'd be quite happy to say that our bad productions are very few and far between, thank God. And then you go to the extreme on the other side. You get things like Terror, Chimes of Midnight, To the Death, stuff like that being produced, which is you know, so amazing. But you know, you have things like Spare Parts, for example, which you then get a phone call from Russell T Davies saying, "Can you just sign over the rights to Spare Parts, please?" And you go, "Yes, of course, Russell, whatever you want." And you know, that ended up being 2 episodes in season 2. Very, very different, mind you. It didn't really need the rights. It didn't need the rights. We just wanted to develop from there. So it's yeah. There we go. Shut up. You go.
Just to ask, how many people are familiar with Paul's work on Big Finish? Show of hands. Oh, a lot. Good.
Okay, that's good.
You guys, are you from listening to the main range, or have you heard the Lucy Miller series, or both?
I heard one.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Do we have classic Who fans here? Show of hands. Do we have new Who fans here? Show of hands. The best thing about Paul McGann of Big Finish is there's something for everybody.
Yeah.
Because the main range series is absolutely classic Doctor Who with all the bells and whistles, cliffhangers, fantastic. But the Lucy series, I know you want to talk a little bit more about that. The amazing thing about this series is it's modern Doctor Who. It's 45-minute episodes, and every one of them just moves like a bullet. And so, really, seriously, if you're a new Who fan and you're kind of not so sure about some of the classic stuff, start there, because that's a phenomenal inroad to discovering what Big Finish is capable of.
I see that we have a hand up right here.
Yeah, where can I find this?
Upstairs in the vendor's room.
Selling out rather fast, I have to accept. We
Is there a
underestimated.
website?
Oh, yes. There is a website.
Bookmark it,
And you can download it now.
Yes.
I've been trying to find out where this place is, and everybody keeps saying, "Oh, it's out there." I'm like, "Okay, that doesn't help me at all."
No, it's bigfinish.com.
Okay.
And it's worth mentioning that the early main range, which is Paul's first 10 stories, and 11 including the Grant's 40th anniversary story,
Yes.
The CDs sadly are out of print, but you can buy them on download for $2.99 each.
Okay.
It's like
$2.99. You can't buy a coffee for that these days.
yeah, for the price for less than the price of a cup of coffee, you can basically download 2+ hours worth of audio drama, and it's rather something good you guys did in doing that. Though I still know people who hate the fact that they can't buy it on CD anymore.
I know. The problem is that we have a warehouse which presently has about 500,000 CDs in. And we have to, we were storing a lot of stuff that was selling very little.
Yeah.
So therefore...
You didn't bring it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We didn't bring it in. No. That's the American distributors for you.
Nick Briggs is back there rolling around it.
Absolutely. But there is stuff upstairs in the dealer's room, and we are selling out, but there is still stuff there. We've got all of Lucy Miller at the moment. Every single episode of Lucy Miller is there. Not necessarily for long though, because we've only got about 2 copies of Blood and Dark, the first story, starring Hayley Atwell. We gave Hayley one of her first acting jobs. She's now gone on to do various mini-series and stuff, and she's now part of the Marvel
How much is
universe.
that, Agent Carter?
Agent Carter?
Agent
Yeah,
Carter.
Agent Carter got her started on Big Finish.
Absolutely, even after doing Agent Carter, she came back here and did a job for us because she likes us a lot because we gave her her first job.
What about Benedict Cumberbatch? Didn't he do a couple with you guys as well?
Yeah, he's done work with us, and he's obviously an amazing actor. I think probably he wouldn't come back to us at the moment because he doesn't know us as well as Haley does. There's a number of actors who would come back,
So most of the old ones are still being downloaded on MP3 from your website?
Yeah, all of them are available on download, every single item. But with the Lucy Miller stuff, it's worth going from the start to the end because the payoff is there.
Definitely are.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very much, Peter, you might be able to talk about this more, but it's very much in the style of the new series that there are story arcs that carry over through the 4 seasons.
Do you want me to explain why that happened?
A radio connection?
Yes, because it's worth mentioning that the difference between the main range releases and the Lucy Miller stories is that when Doctor Who came back on TV in 2005, it was BBC Radio 7 then, it's Radio 4 Extra now.
Yeah.
As I understand it, basically went, hang on, why are we not doing this Doctor Who thing?
Why are we not doing this?
Danger Master. Mary Cullen Carrion was actually the controller of BBC Radio 7 at the time. And I got to meet her through a mutual friend. And she said, this Doctor Who's doing rather well, isn't it? And I said, yes, it is. It's probably the most successful reboot in British history. And she said, oh, we should have our version. I went, yes. The problem was they couldn't commission it technically, but they could buy it in. So it was a sort of commission in that what we did was Lucy Miller, in the shape of Sheridan Smith, was actually cast at the BBC with BBC employees, even though technically it wasn't a BBC show. It's a bit weird. But of course it's always a BBC show because the BBC owned the rights to Doctor Who. So it was a very funny situation, but we saw every Northern actress going. Literally everybody came down. Some really, really well-known names as well. And some of them were really good. We were like, okay, yeah. Sheridan came in, blew us away.
I mean, if you're like a Sarah Jane fan, and I know that most fans will rate her up among the very top, Lucy Miller's right up there with her. No lie, she's amazing. And
Yeah.
Sheridan is phenomenal.
Well, I think, Peter, this is where your area of expertise is, because I have to admit, I've just now finished The Main Range Again.
Okay.
So I've only heard about 5 of the Lucy Miller ones. I
Okay.
like what I've heard. But Peter, this is more your area of expertise.
There's not much more that I was going to say that wasn't already stolen.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. But, I was just going to say, if you're new to Big Finish, if you've never listened to a Big Finish before, Blood of the Daleks is the perfect place to jump right in. You can even pick it right from the end of the McGann movie. It is the way it's written just flows right.
It feels like it
Yes.
feels like it picked straight up from the film.
It was completely pitched so that people who'd never heard of Big Finish could listen to the radio and pick up exactly from that point. Absolutely. So there was always going to be a new companion. It was always going to be 1 hour long. It was always going to be Paul McGann. because we couldn't use any of the new doctors. We couldn't, at the time it was Eccleston just left, it was David. We were not allowed to use them, even though it was a BBC broadcast. I must admit, it was Paul, because Mary Cullen fancies him. There you go. She went through and went, Paul McGann, oh yes, love Paul McGann. He's very sexy. And I went, oh, okay.
But it's radio.
It's radio. He's sexy on radio as well.
It's the voice, cigar smoke voice.
Well, we've got Sheridan, to give it context, I mean, she's an amazing actress. I've known Sheridan since she was 16, when she came down to London from the north. Very unknown, the first role she did was Tallulah in Bugsy Malone, when she was 15. And then she came and lived in London permanently from the age of 16 onwards. And she started getting cast in a couple of comedy series. And she sort of like got pigeonholed in a certain area for a while. And when we cast her, we were like, oh my God, she's amazing. And she was so far ahead. I mean, we had some really good actors come in, and they were like there. And Sheridan was there on this role. And it's, you know, it's not an easy. The rehearsal, not rehearsal, what's it called? Not interview, what's it called when you do audition scene. The audition scene is actually the first few scenes she does in the script. And they're very difficult scenes to do, and a lot of people muck them up. I've actually, we were doing auditions the other day, and we used that script again. And it was very clear to me how difficult that scene is to come across properly. And she did a brilliant job. Now, subsequently, she's gone on to win 2 Olivier Awards back to back. She's the first female to do that since Judy Dench. She's won a BAFTA award. She's won 2 national television awards. And everyone says she's going to win an Oscar at some point.
She's basically been holding McGann up.
Yeah. We were holding her back, basically. But we actually said, Nick said to us, you know, the problem is that at some point everyone else is going to realise how good Sheridan is. And that point was the season 4. And what happened in season 4, there's 10 productions, but only 2 of them, Paul and Sheridan, were in the same room at the same time. We literally could not get them in the same room, because Paul obviously works as well, and Sheridan was just ridiculously difficult. Even season 3, she was actually being biked into us by courier to do her scenes, get back on the bike and bike it out again. That's how season 3 went.
Wow.
With season 4, it was like we couldn't get her in the same room. So it was like at that point which we decided we got to.
I was about to ask, is this why terrible things happen
Yeah.
at the end of season 4?
Yeah, well, we wanted to give her a real proper send-off. And if you remember, the reality is you need to invest time in it, so I'm not going to ruin it for you. But it is an amazing send-off. We all cried. Nick Riggs cried his eyes out. We were crying in the recording studio because it's so brilliant. Paul McGann actually did a brilliant last line in it. And then he went, no, I'm doing it again. It's not enough, not enough. And he went back and redid it again. He said, this is the payoff of the last 4 seasons. And he does that again, and that's the one which we use now. It's amazing. And it is brilliant. But Sheridan actually, on her last day, was sitting there like this. And me and Nick went up to her and put our arms around her and said, you do realise we love you, don't you? And she went, yes. Because she didn't want to leave. It's one of those things that it's just impossible when it's hard enough scheduling the doctors, but if you have a companion that's always in work, it's even worse. So we had to call it to them, but I think for my money, she's one of the greatest companions ever created.
Absolutely.
She's one of the best active companions ever. And if you've never tried Sheridan Smith yet with Paul McGann, you're in for a treat.
They're a great double act.
Yes.
So there we go. Sorry, I'll shut up.
It's also worth pointing out, a lot of you probably know, have heard of Dark Eyes, which is the award-winning Dark Eyes.
Yes.
The award-winning Dark Eyes.
Which is a 4-box set series that really does follow directly on from the Lucy Miller era.
Yeah, but the way Dark Eyes is written though, because I hadn't heard. I hadn't heard Lucy Miller to the death when I heard Dark Eyes.
Right.
Actually, I should tell the story. In Chicago TARDIS in 2012, I think it was, or maybe 2013. You and Paul Sprague can personally convince me to buy Dark Eyes. I was harangued at length by this gentleman and the late great
I do
Paul
that.
Sprague into buying Big Finish off.
Who's been harangued by me in the past?
Don't do the haranguing personally.
Sometimes when you like come up to the vendor.
Yeah, but Dark Eyes was, I think Nick Briggs has said it was deliberately written so that if you hadn't heard
Right.
the stuff before, you could jump onto it. And it does kind of fill in what you need to know as you go along, which is why I know terrible things happen.
It lends so much if you know the Lucy Miller era, though, coming into the opening Dark Eyes, which is phenomenal. Paul at his best.
Paul, people did say, why didn't we just go straight into Dark Eyes? The reality is that having finished the Lucy Miller sequence, we were so killed by it, we couldn't do Dark Eyes. We knew we were going to do Dark Eyes, but we needed a rest. So we went off and did Mary Shelley.
I was going to ask about that, because that was a reoccurring thing for a long time in the main range stories, was the references to references with Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein, and then you guys finally went in and
That was a joke. That was a joke to start off with.
Right.
Which was, oh, wouldn't it be funny if Mary Shelley was a companion? And that started as a joke and expanded from there.
That's a trilogy that's part of the main range.
When we got to that point where we're like, we can't just go straight from Sheridan to doing what comes next. We just can't do it. We were just emotionally drained. Sounds very loving of us, but we were. And we were missing Sheridan like crazy. And so instead, we went, do you know what, let's do Mary Shelley. We talked about it enough, the fact that Mary Shelley was a companion, so let's just do it. And they were brilliant. They were brilliant.
Listen, I would love to hear more. She was wonderful as well.
She was, yeah. Another actress who works a lot in America and isn't very available that much, but we'd love to do some more. We should think about that actually. We're in Doom Coalition mode at the moment, obviously just got Alex back to play River Song. She's in Doom Coalition.
Can you tell us a little bit about Doom Coalition? Paul's next.
Come on!
I'll give you a buck. Okay.
I'll buy you a drink.
Okay, now don't spread this. No one's going to put this on the internet, are we? No. Okay.
Then we can have quick.
I can tell you that Doom Coalition is quite negative, and a couple of people get together. And Paul McGann's in it.
That's news.
That's me. And Riversong. No, there's a new companion. There's a new companion, and it's going to be very interesting. Talking of new companions, we've got a new one just on board now, who's amazing. No, I was thinking of Colin Baker's new companion.
Constance.
Yes. Which is going to be very interesting when you guys hear that, but that's not what we're here for. So look, I'd love to give you some news about Doom Coalition, but basically Nick would kill me. And there is a strategic plan about when things are released. We had to release the information about Alex because it just wasn't going to stay under wraps. So it's better for us to break it than other people. So, but Alex Kingston, by the way, is wonderful, lovely. If you ever get the chance to meet her, she's so sweet. So, no, she loves her Doctor Who as well. She loves being with the song. So it's wonderful to get her back.
It sounds like Doom Coalition is going to come out basically the same sort of format that Dark Eyes did, with a series of box sets every period of months. Is that a successful format for you? Is that something we're going to see more of?
No, and we deliberately, I took the risk of releasing Dark Eyes, the first box set, at 20 quid in the UK. Which, you know, if we sold what we normally do, would not cover production costs. So it was a complete risk. And the idea was to make it cheaper and hopefully have a wider audience and appeal more to people who come into the series through the new series. You know, so new Who people who hadn't tried this before might jump on and try a bit of Paul McGann.
Yeah.
And that is what happened. It's our biggest selling release apart from the 50th anniversary list, which, funny enough, sold a lot. But then if you don't sell quantities during a 50th anniversary for a 50th anniversary release, you may as well pack up and go home, really. Yeah, so that's been very exciting. But I mean, the great thing is actually how much Paul loves this role. It can be a bit, cool on occasions. He's very laid back now. You know, he's very sweet, very laid back. But you know, he gets in the studio and everyone's there, and suddenly this little fire goes in his eyes because he loves being the Doctor. I mean, of all the roles, I mean, there's basically there's Doctor Who, there's Sherlock Holmes, and after that you start struggling for iconic roles that, you know, that everyone wants to play. Because, I mean, then you start going to the Shakespeares. And David Tennant